Okay, Dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So here's the second most fan voted video, and that is how to build PvP heroes. I know it took very long, but yeah, it's here now. As we know, it's impossible to check what top players are using right now with the new inventory lock. So I hope this video will help a lot, and do give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more hero specific guides about to come. So in the general scheme of things, I think we can divide PvP heroes into three different categories. You have the damage dealers, damage based heroes, support based heroes, and the counter based heroes. We will discuss possible builds based on each of these roles. Just to disclaim, these are standard builds. If you have unique ideas for certain heroes, by all means try them out. I think that's where the fun in PvP lies. So for pure damage dealers, I have shortlisted Phi and Truth. Interestingly, both of them work very differently. While Truth has high damage multipliers, Phi makes use of Agnes Flame, which depends on how high her physical attack is. So in this case, you should give them your most polished weapons, since they are heroes who rely on very high physical attack to do damage. To make full use of their damage multipliers, double crit or crit and lethal is usually the way to go. If you plan to use Fenrir or Rengrid on your team, use double crit. Speed should be the last option. Both Phi and Truth are pretty frail, so best to go with HP on them unless you are able to find a way to get the block rate very high through the use of Rudy and Fighter Soul. For Phi's jewels, these are my preferred options: physical attack increase, increased skill use chance, and increased awakening gauge, charge speed, or crit and lethal rate increase. Physical attack increase boosts Agnes Flame's damage. Increased skill use chance is so that Phi will use her skills and possibly land Agnes Flame early. Increased awakening gauge, charge speed, or crit lethal rate increase will depend on your accessory. So if Phi has the reset awaken skill accessory or uses a willful ring, then using increased awakening gauge is better because you probably want that awaken skill to be used ASAP before she dies. But if your Phi has some guardian ring protection or can't reset awaken skill, then perhaps you want to boost her crit and lethal capabilities for more power. For Truth, it is best to capitalize on her power and use crit and lethal increase, survive on 1 HP, and increase awakening gauge or physical attack increase. For accessories, personally, I would feel that Phi is better with the Guardian Ring, since she can be destroyed very quickly if you meet an enemy Rin who will incapacitate her. The Berserker Ring option is possible because this will amplify her attack, and Agnes Flame damage will do an insane amount, but do consider the existence of buff block, which will prevent immortality from happening, and Phi might die too fast. Same for Truth. Due to her glass cannon nature, Guardian Ring is the best option. She doesn't need a Berserker Ring since she already has that in her passive. Preferred substats will include Height, Celestial Purification. If you have the Reset Awakening skill accessory, then use that as a base with the Guardian Ring and Height as substats. For traits, skill use chance is highly recommended for Phi so that she will have a higher chance of using her skills first in your team. The other two traits should be resistance traits, either silence or electrify or stun. Truth should get 3 resistances depending on whether you have immunity providers on your team. Usually offensive teams will run cult, so you do not need paralyzed immunity. Limited traits are meta dependent, and most top players do use damage reducing limited traits to survive longer, as the damage mitigation is huge. I think this is a little tricky to advise for Fighter Souls since it depends on how long you have been playing, but generally you will want to boost their physical attack and either make them super offensive or boost their bulk a little with damage reduction and defense increase. I think either way works, but it will depend on the level of your weapons and armor. Take note that Phi does not need cast rate increase, as her Agnes Flame has 100% chance to land. And lastly, for stems, the best stem set for Phi and Truth is the Initiate set, which increases skill use chance even more and also resets awakened skills. They can also be given the Blessing set to boost their physical attack, which is a huge deal for Phi. We will move on to the support category. The heroes I put here include Rengrid, Judas Rudy, Eileen Clemith, Galidus Platin, and Dyer. So the general idea for support heroes is that weapons do not matter as much, but there are 2 situations when it does. The first is if they heal allies based on their attack stat, and the second is if they have status effects. For heroes that heal like Rudy and Clemith, it is important to give them highly polished weapons to increase their amount of healing. You may also want to give them lethal so that they are able to get lower cooldown. For heroes that rely on status effects like Eileen, Judas and Radgrid, mythical crit weapons will matter because it boosts status effect cast rate. The armor they have is more important because the utility of these heroes depend on their survival. The longer they stay on the field, the better it will be for you, so give them your most polished armor for bulk. Whether you want to give them HP or block armor again depends on Fighter's Soul and presence of Rudy. As Rudy buffs block rate of the entire team by 50%, using block armor on these heroes is possible, but if you don't have Rudy, then you have to rely on your individual hero's Fighter's Soul to obtain a high block rate. And even if you have 100% block rate, some enemy heroes can still reduce block rate up to 50%, so make sure you consider all these aspects too before using block armor. Next, for jewels, while making sure they are blue or green, you can opt for block rate increase, damage reduction from block as a general setup. Other than Judas, these heroes will also need survive on 1 HP jewel to stay on the field a little longer. And if they have healing effects like Rudy and Clemith, recovery rate increase is also a good option. Other options include increased awakening gauge charge speed or skill use chance. For accessories, Willful Ring is preferred for prolonging their health, but you do need to survive on 1 HP jewel. Substats will include Celestial Purification, Galladus Velocity, and Isabella's Crimson Blood. For more detailed information about the best PvP accessory substats, I strongly recommend watching this separate video I linked above for that. Traits are dependent on the hero themselves, and here I put some template traits for your reference. Remember that for resistances, you must check whether there are status effect immunity providers on your team, such as Phi and Dire. And if there are, you do not need to give your other heroes resistances against those status effects. Clemith will benefit from skill use chance, while Rangrid and Radgrid probably will be better off with decreasing damage received. Judas and Radgrid will also like status effect cast rate increase since they use fear and isolation. Resistances will really depend on whether you want that particular hero to use his or her skills. Sometimes it is okay to not give any resistance, for example for Rangrid, since her skills do not do much in battle and you probably won't mind her being silenced or stunned or paralyzed, so you can go with defensive based trait. For Fighter's Soul, definitely go completely defensive on them, and for the best stem sets for these heroes, that will be the Patience and Fortune sets, as these reduce the damage they take by a considerable amount. If you want an explanation of how these sets work, do watch my equipment stamping discussion guide video. There are also heroes that are both good at dealing damage and also provide incredible support for the entire team, and these include Scout, Rin, Anti-E, Freya and Wukong. So in this case, should you build them more defensively or more offensively? To be honest, you can go either way. Most top players give them fully polished gear and use defensive Fighter's Soul and jewels on them to increase their bulk slightly. Basically, you want to raise the crit and lethal chances of these heroes to maximize their damage output. They have skills that have amazing damage multipliers, so that's something you want to make the most out of. So go with a double crit or crit lethal setup depending on your availability and depending on whether you use Fenrir or Rangrid for lethal rate buffs. The choice of the jewel depends on whether you intend to buff the offensive or defensive capabilities of your hero, so either red or blue jewels will be good. The jewel substats, however, tend to remain more offense oriented, such as using crit and lethal rate increase, increased physical or magic attack, increased awakening gauge charge speed and skill use chance, especially for Anti and Eve. Survive on 1 HP is also a must for those heroes if their passive doesn't allow them to do so. So for accessories, it largely depends on their bulk. Other than Wukong, since the rest are magic heroes, they may tend to be slightly more frail, so Guardian Ring is really good. If you have the Survive on 1 HP jewel, Willful Ring is possible too, but not really recommended. For traits, I would strongly recommend either Resistances or Skill Use Chance or Reflect Resistance. I can't tell you exactly what resistances you should use because it depends on how you divide it among your team. If you have 3 heroes with silence resist, then try not to give the silence resist to the remaining 2 heroes. You have to mix and match within your team. Skill use chance is also dependent on your preference for skill priority within the heroes in the team. If you want Anti to have higher priority, then give her the trait with the jewel. Reflect resistance is also important for these heroes, as I mentioned, are able to deal tons of damage, and unless you have reflect immunity or able on your team, these damage dealers will be hit back very hard and risk dying very quickly. But of course, you do not need to give every single hero reflect resist as well. So for the fighter soul, you can either go offensive or defensive. I would actually prefer defensive setup to improve the survivability of my glass cannons. Even with a defensive setup, they can still hit insanely hard, so yes. For the recommended stem set, the Initiate or the Blessing sets are preferred for damage purposes. Anti specifically will want the Initiate set more than the Blessing set to get the ability to reset her Awaken skill. You can also use the Fortune set to give these heroes more bulk, as it greatly helps to reduce the damage taken from skills that ignore defense. The Fortune set is best paired with high block rate. We do have an upcoming hero who also belongs to this category, and he is someone you will want to keep on the field and is also able to do potentially amazing damage. I actually think you may be able to use the Berserker Ring on him as well. So moving on, we have the counter heroes, and I have included 2 here, Abel and Chris. I guess I don't have to talk about the armor because it has to be counter, but take note that in any given battle, only the hero with the highest counter rate will counter. So it is pointless to have 2 heroes equipped with counter armor. The counter build is a very special one because these heroes tend to have OP effect attacks, so there is a very high likelihood of you giving them speed weapons. For jewels, the best jewel is definitely the 7 Knight of O lifesteal and survive on 1 HP jewel. Otherwise, you can use the boss jewel for lifesteal and Dark Knight jewel for 1 HP survival individually. You may even give them counter rate jewel to ensure their counter rate reaches close to 100% or more. Counter attack damage and effect attack rate increase are also possible options to consider. The accessory you choose for your counter hero can vary a lot. The base is usually the Guardian Ring, and the substats will depend on which hero it is. You may choose to go with the Isabella's Illusion to attack twice for Abel, and use a status effect ring like Death for Chris. The secondary substat tends to be Celestial Purification, so that your counter hero will not be immobilized for too long and not perform his job. Counter heroes often have a completely different set of traits. Personally, I like to give my counter heroes Blind Resist, Poison Resist, and either Electrify Stun or Paralyze Resist. Blind Resist is very important in my opinion because Blind is a status which completely shuts down your counter hero down, as it prevents basic attacks from happening. Poison Resist is to ensure that your counter hero does not take extra damage when countering, and of course if you have Dire on your team, then this isn't necessary. Some people also use increased status cast rate for Chris to boost the possibility of landing Death or any other status you may have given your counter hero. For Fighter Soul, counter rate at grade 7 is a huge bonus, but if you haven't reached that point, you can give your counter hero more defensive oriented soul skills so that they do not go down too quickly. Counter based heroes tend to be pretty frail, especially in this meta. Status cast rate is a great soul skill to give those heroes if you have status effects to land. And the best stem sets for counter heroes will be none other than the Storm set, which increases basic attack damage and effect attack chance, or you can even use a Storm and Blessing hybrid set. And this brings me to talk about Gerard. Gerard earned a very special spot, being the only one possible in the counter and support category at the same time. As we know, he is an insane counter unit in death teams and even in offensive teams. Some players also make the most out of his death effect attack. His recommended counter build will be the same as what I've mentioned earlier, particularly similar to Chris, using speed weapons and death accessory substats and status effect cast rate. If you use Gerard as the attack leader, don't forget he also needs the speed jewel. But an alternative build for him will be a more tanky and bulky build because his passive in an offensive team raises defense and also reduces enemy crit rate. So the way to build him for this purpose will be to give him HP or block armor instead. Most top players give him block armor with a very high block rate, to mitigate damage, because even with HP armor, his defenses are so poor that he can still be destroyed easily, unless you use heroes or pets that increase hero defenses. For duos, maximize his block rate and damage reduced from blocking, and let him survive on 1 HP. The Willful Ring or Guardian Ring are both usable depending on the enemy you face. Guardian Ring can at least ensure some protection for 2 to 3 turns. As for substats, the Hide substat is good so that he will not get countered. Possible traits will include those that are defensive in nature. Personally, I will not need him to use skills in this setup, so I may just give him Bleed, Poison and Burn Resist so that he will not receive crippling status effects. It is okay if he gets immobilized since you only need him for the passive. Fighter Soul should be completely defense oriented as well. As for stamps, the best ones will be Fortune or Patience. There is also another very special hero that can be both a counter unit as well as a damage dealer, depending on how you build her, and she is Milia. As we know, Milia hits 2 targets on her basic attack, and she is able to blind her targets if you do not have blind resist. So many players once used her as a counter hero on universal teams. Of course, to make use of her effect attack, the same speed counter build will apply, which I have displayed here. But Milia also has an amazing AoE skill set which has the potential to wipe enemy teams, especially since it also has chain attack. So if you want to use her as a damage dealer, definitely give her crit weapons or crit lethal. For her armor, you should give her either HP or block so that she will be able to be alive to dish out more damage. For duos, crit and lethal increase, survive on 1 HP and magic attack increase will be the best combination to boost her damage capabilities. If you don't have the Dark Knight duos for these, feel free to use boss duos too. Again, as always, increased skill use chance, increased awakening gauge and reflect immunity are always possible options depending on your preference and inventory availability. Milia will benefit from the protection of the Guardian Ring right now because her stats are considered lower than many newer Mythical Awakened heroes, so having more protection is recommended as she can be easily killed with the Willful Ring. For substats, you can use Hide and Purifications as safe options. For traits, same thing, resistances are the way to go, and make sure the variety of resistances is well spread out across your team. Limited traits in this case, I would recommend maximizing her potential output because her defenses are kind of low compared to her fellow meta peers, so what you could wish for is for her to have one big damaging moment. It is recommended to give her Defensive Fighter Soul because of her lower stats. Of course, if you want to push for higher damage output, magic attack and other offensive oriented soul skills can be used as well. The best stamp set for Milia will include Storm if you use her on the counter build, or Initiate Blessing set if you use her as a damage dealer. And finally, we come to the middle, the part where heroes with incredibly flexible skill sets exist, and they are Dylan's, Yonhee, Cult, Fenrir, and Reginlave. I have seen them as attack leaders using speed HP and speed counter builds. I have also seen them as big damage dealers using crit and lethal builds, while at the same time providing support for the entire team in terms of passive. The reason why these heroes can be given speed builds is because they have incredible effect attacks. Yonhee puts enemies to sleep, Fenrir causes bleeding, Cult electrifies, Dylan's has the potential to hit 3 targets. Reginlave is probably the weakest one here at the moment for PvP because though she has a boom effect, but that is prevented due to the buff block. And on the flip side, these heroes have great skills with decent multipliers as well that allow them to do tons of damage, so going with a crit and lethal style damage dealer build is also possible. Coupled with great passives, HP or block armor can be used. So I've put down the possible options and builds you can do with them, which is really the same idea as what we have talked about before. The question is, how do you decide what to give them? Now the answer is simple. Basically ask yourself if you want to use these heroes as the attack leader for your PvP team. If yes, go with the speed and counter. If no, go with the damage dealer route. I just want to highlight some important things about these 5 heroes in general. Guardian Ring and Survive on 1 HP is preferred for all except Fenrir, who has self-healing capabilities, and hence your duo choices for Fenrir will be more inclined to boost his physical attack and recovery rate. I will also recommend increasing Awakening Gauge charge speed duo for these heroes if you are using the damage dealer build, since their awakened skills are all very useful and would be good to be used earlier to wipe enemy teams. Cult is a hero who can cleanse debuffs, so using increased skill use chance on her would be preferred. And the rest follow the same logic as what was already covered earlier in the video in detail. The ultimate takeaway from this video is that a gear set can be determined based on how the hero performs in PvP. And even if new heroes are released, you can apply the same logic on that hero and proceed to give him or her the most appropriate gear. And even though this video gives you some ideas about building heroes, it is not fixed and there can be different variations for certain heroes. So I hope you found this video helpful, and of course be sure to like and subscribe to my channel because I will always talk about how to equip the latest heroes in all hero review videos. Big shout out to my channel members ZMD Phoenix, the Mocha Cafe and Yamaki for their support. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much and see you!